Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa la amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's episode of Du'as that became Quran. And it's an interesting one today. It's the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, which most of us are familiar with. When Yusuf alayhi salam was in the home of Al-Aziz, an aristocrat in Egypt. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with such beauty, and he was, attacked by the wife of the aristocrat. And then rumors started going around in Egypt, in the capital, that Ra'atul Aziz, that she's trying to, seduce her servant. And then she made a party, invited them all to show them. She, plotted against them pretty much. Gave them all fruits, gave them all knives. And then when Yusuf alayhi salam came in, and he was so handsome, so beautiful, that instead of cutting their fruit, they cut their fingers. They're just shocked at his beauty. But then she said, after she got kind of like the permission from all these the aristocrat women in Egypt, she said that if he doesn't do what I say, that I will imprison him. He'll go to jail. So the dua that we're going to be talking about here is the dua of Yusuf alayhi salam. Like I said, it's an interesting one. His dua was, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recorded in the Quran, قَالَ رَبِّ السِّجْنُ أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا يَدْعُونَنِي إِلَيْهِ. He said, "Oh my Lord, prison is more beloved to me than what they're calling me to. وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنَّ أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنَّ وَأَكُنْ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ." And if you don't, ward off their plotting and their that I would be one of the ignorant, one of the sinful. So his dua was, "Oh Allah, prison is better for me than what they're calling me to," which is zina. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. So this is the dua of Yusuf alayhi salam, and this is the one that was recorded in the Quran, and then we're going to be talking about it here today. So the first thing that I want to mention is that even though Yusuf alayhi salam went to prison, as we know, he went to prison, and then after in prison he made friends with inmates, and then later on one of the inmates became, worked for the king, and then the king later on hired Yusuf alayhi salam to come. So we know the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. So the first thing is that even though he went to prison, sometimes people make dua like, "Oh Allah, save me from like an oppressive situation or haram situation," and then it seems like the situation for this person got worse. But if you know from the entire story of Yusuf alayhi salam that his connection came in the prison. His connection came from that prison. So from that low time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always had goodness waiting for Yusuf alayhi salam. Even though immediately after the dua, like he was saved from the women and it seemed like things went bad, but they actually were a stepping stone to the greatest story. Ahsan al-Qasas is the greatest story there. The second thing that I want to mention from this is that in the ups and downs of life, sometimes when people make dua, and I've noticed this, sometimes people have like this one major dua that they want to get answered. Maybe that one major dua is to have a baby, or one major dua is to get married, or one major dua is to move to Canada or something like that. So they have this one major dua, and they think like a fairy tale that if they get this one dua answered, they will live happily ever after. And then what they find is, okay, they got accepted to go to migrate to Canada, and in Canada they got all these problems, or they got married and now they have a whole bunch of problems with their spouse, or they had a child and then there's tests that comes after that. So the first lesson that I want to teach you guys is that you will never come to a point in your life where you don't need dua anymore. Understand that. Life is test. So the concept of happily ever after, one dua answered and it's over, and life, nothing comes after that, isn't true. it's a life of dua, a life consistently growing in your dua. Maybe this is the intense dua that you want to make now, but as time goes by, you'll have another intense dua and another intense dua, and that's the sweetness of life, actually. So these ups and downs teach us that when we're in the down part, we have patience and we raise our hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't lose the opportunity to come closer to Allah. And then you have the up parts where some people might get to an up part and think that, well, I have nothing to make dua for anymore. Let me stop because I'm at the upper part of my my life and everything's going great. That's the time when you are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where you do shukr to Allah azza wa jal, and you still continue to make dua, so you find things to keep growing higher in your dunya and in your akhirah as well. The other thing that I noticed that some people say, the other thing that I know, and Rania shared this video. Thank you, Rania. It says that you shared it. Jazakallah khair. The other thing I noticed about people who are in this situation, okay, where it's been a long time, they made dua for something, and it hasn't manifested in their life and whatnot. And I see some people say something like, "Allah has a great plan for you." And they're like, yes, they're just waiting for their fairy tale to continue. I want to tell you guys that that I don't actually, so that you have to step up in your own life. There's no fairy tale happening to you. Maybe in the movies there's a fairy tale because there's a director and there's a storyline, and it's like, oh, great things are going to be happening to you, just you wait, stuff like that. No, a person, yes, you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's ups and downs, but your life has to be authored by you. You're the one who has to offer. So for example, one person, I won't mention who they are, they went to a bus station, and they went to a bus station because they want to go to a Quran class, and they missed their bus, and they missed the class. They came back, and they said, Allah didn't want me to go to the class. And I'm like, maybe, perhaps, you just went late for the bus. Maybe that wasn't Allah's plan for you to miss the Quran class. Maybe you just missed the bus. How about that? So I have this post on Facebook that I love, and every year I think Facebook reminds me that I posted this, and I love it. It says, everything happens for a reason and a purpose, and sometimes the reason is that you're dumb. You're just dumb. So it's not that there's some fairy tale waiting to happen to you. You have to write that fairy tale of your own. And so your life is ups and downs. That's everybody's life, ups and downs. It's tests. So when we face those tests with sabr and with shukr, and we constantly are making dua up and down throughout our lives until we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ, and worship your Lord until the certainty comes to you, until death. So how's that? Fairy tales. There was this one guy, actually two things come to my mind. There was a guy in Arafah, and he was sleeping. Arafah is, day of Arafah, Hajj. And he was sleeping, and his wife said, hey, let's go out and make dua on the mountain, stuff like that. And then he was sleeping, and he said to his wife, you go ahead. I already have everything. I have no need to make dua to Allah. It's like, I already have everything. I can't be selfish. Got to save some stuff for the other people. So that's one thing. That's one thing that reminds, that comes to mind. The second, and obviously that's haram. That kind of attitude of, I'm done with dua, or like Allah gave me everything, so therefore I stop worshiping Him. That's never the case. A person always grows either in thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and patience, ups and downs through our life, and we always have du'as to say till we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. Any questions about that? Questions? Aisha says, mashallah, this is great. Alhamdulillah. This comes with experiences. Like as time goes by, I guess sometimes people say, as you guys are getting ready to ask a question, as some people ask during Visionaire, when we're teaching Visionaire and visionaireRamadan.com, it's open. Some people say, oh, what if I make dua and then it turns out to be a snake? It turns out to be a snake, like, oh, I made dua for some husband and he turns out to be a serial killer or something like that. And I'm like, what bad way of thinking of a dua in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you make dua to, this is what the person's thinking, I'm going to make dua to Allah and He's going to give me this prize, a box, and then when I get this prize box, I'm going to open it and it's going to turn out to be a snake. A'udhu billah, that somebody would think like that. That's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of the things I say, maybe somebody's making dua for something and then there's a delay, and the actual delay is that what you're making dua for is a snake. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is protecting you from the snake. Right? So may Allah Azza wa Jal protect us. So even built into our du'as is safety protections. That maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows this isn't good for you at this time in your life, or something better is coming down the road, but if you're hasty now, that you'll miss that upcoming opportunity. Allahu a'lam. Allahu a'lam what the situation is, but never think about dua like that. We make dua and then next test will come, we make dua, next test will come, and we keep going like that. This question comes from, I think it was Firdaus. Yes, Surah Yusuf, thank you for being a top fan. Firdaus, welcome. What's the best dua for marriage? Honestly, I don't know. But generally, that kind of a question is the best dua you can make is the one that comes from your heart. Truly, the one that comes from your heart is going to be the best dua. And when people focus on wording for the dua, I just make dua for what you want. You want to get married, oh Allah bless me to get married, but you want to raise the intensity. Now, maybe raising the intensity is finding some authentic du'as that you want to, or maybe things from the Quran or something like that. That's fine. And then Qiyamul Layl and raising your game like that, no problem. Intensify your du'as for something like that. But right now, I don't know. A masnoon du'a for marriage. Somebody else knows? Then you can post it in the comments. We are done now, so if anybody wants to tap out, we're good. I'm going to answer like one more question, and then we're ma'as-salama. Isra says, how do you step up your game if a big resource? So step up your game is a key word that I'm looking for, Isra. You say, how do you step up your game? Okay. What does that mean? I don't know, but let's see. If a big resource is needed, but it is out of control to acquire. Striving towards making it a means, but isn't really in my control except my effort. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Okay, so what if, let me rephrase it. You want to make dua. So the key word is how do you, step up your game. I think you're talking about in dua, okay? Maybe that's what you mean. If you step up your game in dua and there's a big resource needed, so let's suppose you need, I need funding of $1 million, something like that, but it's out of your control to acquire. I don't know, it's too confusing. Inshallah, maybe on another Facebook Live where we can talk directly, I can shoot back a couple of questions at you, inshallah. All right, we are done, my friends. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It was nice being with you guys. We have one more Facebook Live like this. I think it's going to be like on Monday. Actually, you know what? I don't know, because that's going to be most likely Ramadan. We'll see, but there is one more scheduled, inshallah ta'ala. Visionary Ramadan, our flagship program that we do in Ramadan, is open for registration. Visionary Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala, is coming up very soon. It's open. You can check it out, visionaryramadan.com. This is Muhammad Alshareef signing out, saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.